white matter of the spinal cord. White matter of spinal cord. Okay. What is white matter? White matter, look here in this diagram. In the previous class we have already discussed the grey matter. Now in this class we will discuss the grey matter. Sorry, white matter. So white matter of the spinal cord, it is the area surrounding this grey matter. Okay. And the nomenclature of this white matter, it is given in relation with the grey matter. So some area of the spinal cord, it lies dorsal to this, that means in between the two dorsal great horns. Okay, so this part of the spinal cord, it is known as what? It is known as the dorsal column, or you can say dorsal funiculus. Now again there is another compartment or the funiculus which is placed lateral to this grey horn, which lies in between the dorsal and the ventral grey horn, that is this area. Okay, so this area, it is the lateral funiculus or column, lateral funiculus. Then comes the anterior funiculus. Now this, look here, what is this? This is the ventral grey horn, and this is the area, imaginary line, which is marking the lateral exit of the ventral nerve roots, lateral most part of the ventral nerve roots. So the ventral or the anterior funiculus, it is the area which is bounded medially by this anterior median fissure and laterally by the lateral most fibers of the ventral root. Okay, ventral root of the spinal cord. So this area, it is known as the anterior funiculus or the anterior column. So altogether, this is the anatomical division of the white matter of inside the spinal cord around the grey matter. Dorsal to that, lateral to this grey matter, and ventral or anterior to this grey matter. That means dorsal funiculus lies in between the two dorsal grey horns, posteriorly, in between the two dorsal and the ventral grey horns, laterally to the lateral funiculus, and here it is the anterior funiculus. The most important point in this anterior funiculus, it is interconnected through the fibers, crossing fibers. So due to the presence of dorsal median septum, this dorsal funiculus, it is not interconnected, but here in the anterior funiculus there is connection between the two halves of the spinal cord, and here we get what? What is this? This is the ventral or the anterior white commissure, because it is the part of the white matter. That's why it is known as the anterior white commissure. How it is formed? It is formed by the crossing of the fibers in the midline anteriorly, and that is known as the anterior white commissure fibers. Okay, so these three funiculus are the white matters of the spinal cord. Now come to the point, what is white matter? What is white matter then? We have discussed in the previous classes that there are neurons. Okay, so how the tracts are formed? This white matter, it is composed of tracts, that is ascending tracts as well as the descending tracts. Okay, so how the tract is formed? It is formed by the axons. There are a group of neurons sitting over here, and it is the axons of these neurons, they form a bundle. Okay, so all together the axons which are coming from the common neurons here, they will form a bundle, and that bundle is known as the tract. That means the tract is the nerve fiber, the bundle of the nerve fibers of the neurons. Okay, so there is a very peculiar, very specific point for the tract is whether it is the ascending tract or whether it is the descending tract. What it is? The tracts have what? Common origin. That will have common origin, common course, common termination and common function. Okay, that means suppose if this tract, suppose this is the descending tract, this is arising from the cortical area, cortex of the brain. So corticospinal tract, and it is terminating here in the spinal cord. So it has got a common origin. The bundles which are the axons which are present here inside this specific tract, it will have a common course. It will terminate at a very specific point. All the bundles will terminate at very specific horns or the ventral great horns of this spinal cord here, anterior great column, and common function. If it is a corticospinal tract, that means all the axons which are running above downwards, all axons will have the same function. Okay, that is a very important point for the tracts. All tracts, they have common origin, course, termination and the function. Okay, so this is the how the tract is formed. Now how you will give the nomenclature of these tracts, how the tract is getting its name. Okay, suppose there are ascending tracts, some tracts are descending. Ascending tracts means, suppose I am saying lateral spinothalamic tract. Okay, lateral spinothalamic tract. What does it mean? If it is ascending tract, lateral spinothalamic, you have to focus on the two components of the name of the any tract, prefix and suffix. In the prefix here, what is there? Spino, that means spinal cord. Okay, and in the suffix it is the thalamic, that is the thalamus. So the nomenclature of this tract, it is depending upon it is starting from the spinal cord and it is going up to the thalamus. That's why it is named as spinothalamic tract. Just reverse. Corticospinal. If it is the corticospinal, what does it mean? Corticospinal tract, what does it mean? It will arise from the higher center, that is the cortex, and there it will terminate. It will terminate on the spinal cord. That means in the preface, it is the origin site, and in the suffix, whatever it is the name, it will be the termination site of that particular tract. With this background, now come to the tracts. So these dorsal funiculus, the lateral funiculus and the anterior funiculus. Now in this area, which is the white matter, and the white matter means it is covered by the axons are covered by the myelin sheath. So white matter are mainly composed of myelinated nerve fibers, but there are presence of some non-myelinated nerve fibers also. Suppose some non-myelinated, just like the pain pathway, slow pain pathway, it is non-myelinated. So that thing you will keep in mind, it is composed mainly of the myelinated, but some non-myelinated fibers, tracts are also present here. So now you will classify the different tracts according to its position here. Okay, a very important point, you have to remember this. This is the dorsal column, this is the lateral funiculus or the column, and this is the ventral or the anterior column. Now the tracts means this spinal cord, it is conveying the sensory impulse from the periphery to the higher center. So the tracts which will convey all modalities of sensation, somatic, visceral, whatever it is, pain, temperature, unconscious, proprioceptive impulse, whatever impulse to the higher center, that will be in the form of ascending tracts, or you can say the sensory tracts. Now from the higher center, the motor fibers, the motor tracts are coming down to control the movements of the body, whether the somatic, whether the visceral. So these tracts will be known as the descending tracts or the motor tracts. So there are two types of tracts mainly in the white matter of the spinal cord. That is the motor tracts and the sensory tracts. But there is one more tract also which is known as the intersegmental tract. Intersegmental tract. What is this intersegmental tract? Other than the motor and the sensory. Okay? Other than the motor and the sensory. First is motor, other is the sensory, and third is the intersegmental tract. Motor is the descending fibers. Okay? Or the descending tract. Sensory, it is the ascending fibers. And intersegmental tract, it is the tract, the fibers or the axons of any tract which connects the 2 to 3 segments of the spinal cord. Some segments above, some segments below. That means it will not, it is confined in the spinal cord. Okay? It is confined in the spinal cord only. And this is known as the association tract, which interconnects 2 to 3 segments of the spinal cord for its function. So there are 3 types of tracts here. Now motor, sensory and the intersegmental tracts. Now look here in this diagram. Dorsal funiculus or the dorsal column. It is mainly carrying the ascending tracts. That means whatever tract you are getting here in the dorsal column, it will be ascending tracts. No descending tracts or the motor tract is present here in the dorsal column or the dorsal funiculus. Okay, you get the point? Now the lateral funiculus, it is mixed type. That means both the ascending as well as the descending tracts will compose. Okay, the lateral funiculus, this lateral column, it contains both the ascending tracts as well as the descending tracts in equal amount. Okay, and in the ventral funiculus or the anterior funiculus, it is mainly the descending tracts. Here it is the mainly ascending tract, and in the anterior compartment, it is mainly the majority of the tracts. Here in the anterior funiculus, it is the descending tracts, but some ascending tracts are also present here, like the anterior ventral spinal tract. Okay, so it is mainly descending part here. Okay, in the anterior compartment or the anterior funiculus. So these things you have to keep in mind. So the dorsal column, it is composed of mainly ascending, and what are the ascending tracts in this dorsal column here. Now one by one we will see the name of the tracts which are present in the different columns or the different fasciculus of the white matter. So this is the dorsal column. Dorsal column, what does it takes? Which type of sensation it is carried through this compartment or the funiculus of the white matter? Anyone? Which type of sensation it carries? Yes, of course it is the ascending tract. It will carry impulses, sensory impulses. Which type? In the dorsal, these things are very important. You must remember it. This column, it carries what? Fine touch. The pressure. Fine touch. Touch, you have to define it. Touch are 2 types. Fine touch and the crude touch. Okay. But the fine touch, it is carried upwards by the dorsal column or the fasciculus which is present here in the dorsal column. Fine touch, the vibration, 2-point discrimination, tactile localization, and as well as the which type? Conscious proprioceptive impulses. Very important point. Proprioceptive impulses means we have discussed in the previous class that the sensation which are coming from the muscles, the tendons, the ligament, the joints which are placed in the space. So conscious appreciation of this it is carried by the proprioceptive impulses. It is carried by this tract, ascending tracts which are present here in the dorsal fasciculus. Okay. Now, in the dorsal fasciculus, I have drawn the diagram here. All of you see, there are two components here. Okay. One is the medial one is towards the dorsal median septum. It is FG. I have written here FG. What is this FG? It is fasciculus gracilis. Very good. The fasciculus gracilis. Lateral to that, it is the fasciculus cuneatus. So whatever sensation which I have enumerated for this column or this funiculus, it will carry by these two tracts, fasciculus gracilis as well as the fasciculus cuneatus. But what is the role of this fasciculus gracilis and what is the role of this fasciculus cuneatus? From where it starts? This fasciculus means this rough tracts. From which level of the spinal cord it is going to start? If I have drawn this diagram here, it is not the diagram of the lower level of the spinal cord. First thing, because I have drawn here both the fasciculus gracilis as well as the fasciculus cuneatus. It means that this is the cross section of the spinal cord above T6 level. Okay. So this is the demarcation. So fasciculus gracilis, G for ground. One point you should remember is their medial compartment, medial fasciculus is the gracilis. So G for ground also. So the lower limb and the lower part of the trunk, these sensations are carried via the spinal cord through this fasciculus, fasciculus gracilis. From the upper part of the trunk, upper limb above, this same sensation, it is added up by the another tract which is named here fasciculus cuneatus. C for cervical, C for cuneatus. You will remember that. Okay. So fasciculus gracilis and the fasciculus cuneatus both are the tracts which carries the sensation we have enumerated right now: fine touch, the pressure, touch, pressure, the tactile localization, and the unconscious or conscious, the conscious proprioceptive impulses. Very good. The unconscious will be carried by some another tract. That is very important. These things are always asked in the objective, sometimes in Viva. Unconscious proprioceptive impulses is carried by which tract? That conscious proprioceptive impulses is carried by which tract? So a very important point was there. So fasciculus gracilis and fasciculus cuneatus. Another name, sometimes it is also known as tract of Gall and Budai. Okay. Sometimes it is called tract of Gall and Budai. This one. Again G for ground. Gall is medial and Budai it is the lateral fasciculus. Okay. So sometimes if you are asked what is tract of Gall and Budai, it is the same thing. The fasciculus gracilis and the cuneatus are named accordingly. Okay. So this thing you have to keep in mind. That is the dorsal fasciculus. It is containing through this pathway, this highway, only the ascending fibers. It is carried towards the higher center and it is taking this type of sensation. Okay. Now, but there are some descending fibers also. Some descending fibers you will see in this compartment, which mediates the descending fibers, which mediates the intersegmental reflex activity. Okay. So in the posterior column, whatever descending fiber it is present, and from where these descending fibers will be coming. In this column, from where you will get the descending fibers. It is the fibers. Look here in this diagram. This diagram, suppose any type of sensation which is synaptic here in the dorsal great horn. Okay, here. So in the dorsal root of this is the dorsal root ganglia here. Okay. True. This is the central process and this is the peripheral process of this pseudo-unipolar neuron. If this, before synapsing here, it gives what? A medial as well as the lateral branches. It gives medial as well as the lateral branches. So the medial branches as well as the lateral branches. This medial division of this dorsal central process of the dorsal nerve root, it descends downwards. It descends downwards for 1, 2, 3 segments below. Do you remember? So, now coming from which division? These descending fibers are coming from the medial division of the central process of the dorsal root ganglia, and these descending fibers interconnect with the, it gives collaterals and it synapse there, and it helps in the regulation of the intersegmental reflex activity, isn't it? Intersegmental reflex activity, plus it also, these descending tracts also helps in the relay of the synapse, the other neurons which are present in the dorsal gray horn. Okay, the sensory neurons which are present in the dorsal gray horn, there it sends their nerve impulses. Okay, that means it is like that. So, the descending fibers in the dorsal column, look here, the descending fibers of this medial division, it is present mainly in the cervical region, cervical and the upper thoracic and what it is named as? It is named as fasciculus interfascicularis. Fasciculus interfascicularis. Another, if this tract, the medial division, the descending axons of the medial division of the same fibers, if it is present in the lumbar region, then it is known as what? Lumbar septo-marginal fasciculus. Septo-marginal fasciculus. Okay? Then this fasciculus interfascicularis and the septo-marginal fasciculus, which are present in this upper cervical thoracic and the lumbar region, they help in the intersegmental reflex activity of the spinal cord. And now you have understood that these descending fibers, from where it is coming in the dorsal funiculus. Clear? So mainly the fibers, it is not related with that like there's some specific function that's just like the other ascending and the descending tracts, but it is mainly concerned with the reflex activity. Okay? Now come to the lateral funiculus of the all the descending tracts. Here in the right side I have drawn the descending tracts and the left side I have drawn all the ascending tracts. Okay? So it is not like that in the left side it is the ascending and the right side it is descending. For the convenience to remember, I have drawn like that. Okay? So look here. Now, what is this? In the lateral funiculus of this white matter, a very, very important tract is present which is asked in the long question. Okay, a very important part of the descending tracts here. Descending means from where it should be coming. The tracts from which neurons the axonal fibers should originate in the cortical areas. That's why the name is corticospinal tract. Just now I have told this point. In the prefix it is cortico, in the suffix it is spinal. So the tract, it is connecting the cortex with the spinal cord. And it is because it is placed in the lateral compartment of this, that's why it is known as the lateral corticospinal tract. Okay? A very important point. What is? It is this lateral corticospinal tract. That means there will be the ventral or the anterior corticospinal tract also. You have to find it. Okay, so it is present in the anterior compartment. This is the anterior corticospinal tract. Look here. Here it is the anterior one. This is the anterior corticospinal tract. It is present in the anterior funiculus, just lateral to this anterior median fissure. It is the anterior corticospinal tract. Lateral corticospinal tract and the anterior corticospinal tract. What are these tracts? These are the pyramidal tracts. So the descending tracts in the CNS, in the spinal cord, it has got two types of tracts: corticospinal as well as the corticonuclear tracts. This nucleus, any nucleus which is present here, or the neurons, the tracts which is coming to that, it is not the corticonuclear tract. Okay, because this nucleus, it is present in the spinal cord. Whatever tract it is synapse here, it will be named in the suffix. You have to add spinal. But if the same thing it is happening in the brainstem, that means suppose midbrain, the pons and the medulla oblongata, there are also this grey matter. When you ascend upwards, this grey matter in the brainstem, it is discreted. Okay, it is disrupted there. So scattered in the brainstem. So from the cortex, if the termination of the tract is on the nuclei of the brainstem there, that will be known as the corticonuclear tracts. But if the tract it is descending up to the spinal cord, it will be known as the corticospinal tract, isn't it? So it is like that, and it is included in the list of the pyramidal tracts. Why this tract, lateral corticospinal tract, it is known as the pyramidal tract? Anyone? Because in the medulla there are the olive and the pyramid. The pyramid, this tract passes through the pyramid of the medulla oblongata, and that process there, that's why it is known as the pyramidal tract also. Okay, so 85% of the pyramidal tract it process, and the 15% of the pyramid it uncrossed, and it is descending downwards as the anterior corticospinal tract. Clear? So in this lateral funiculus, this lateral corticospinal tract, what is the function of these tracts which are coming from the cortex up to the spinal cord? It is where it should terminate. These are the neurons in the ventral gray horn. Alpha and the gamma neurons are sitting here. So whatever tract it is coming here and synapsing here, through this alpha and the gamma neuron, it is controlling the voluntary muscles of the lymph muscle or the trunk muscles for the voluntary movement of the limb as well as the skin movement. So corticospinal tract, it is the function, it is for the voluntary movement. Okay, corticospinal via this alpha neurons and the gamma neurons. Now the rubrospinal tract, the lateral reticulospinal tract, then in this lateral compartment, just medial to that, there is the rubrospinal tract. What do you mean by rubro? In the prefix, again there is a nomenclature, rubro. What does it mean, rubro? Rubro means something red structure. Red structure like. That's why here the nomenclature is rubro. Red marks. The red, this is a collection of the grey matter in the midbrain, which is known as the red nucleus. Isn't it? From there the fiber it is coming to and terminating in the spinal cord anterior gray bone. That's why this is known as the rubrospinal tract. You get the point? Not arising from the cortical area. It is arising all these tracts other than this corticospinal tract, all the descending tracts. Again, it is originating from the subcortical area. That means below the cortical areas. That means if there is a origin from the midbrain there is a red nucleus from the neurons of that, if it is giving axons, then the tract which is forming will be the rubrospinal. Okay. The function of the rubrospinal, it is, what does it do? What is the function then of these descending tracts? Again, for the muscles, voluntary control, but it is not Doing like that, it is help the influencing the excitatory effect on the flexor group of the muscles, leaving the inhibitory effect on the extensor, anti-gravity muscle. It is like that. So other tract, first look the other tract in the lateral compartment. It is the lateral reticulospinal tract. That means there will be a medial reticulospinal tract also, isn't it? If there is a lateral reticulospinal tract, then you have to find the medial, and it is medial and lateral to this ventral brain wall. Lateral it is present in the lateral funiculus, and medial it is present in the anterior funiculus. Now, this word reticulo, what does it mean? In the neuroanatomy chapter, there is a chapter reticular formation, a very important topic. So, what is reticular formation? In the mid brainstem, in the central axis of that, there are the scattered masses of the neurons there. Centrally placed the masses of the gray matter neurons there, and the fibers, axons which are arising from there, they will be known as the reticulo, which is arising from the pons, it is arising from the medulla. That means if it is the midline structure of the brainstem and some fiber neurons are present here, some here in the pons and the medulla oblongata just around the mid axis, so that very neuron which gives the axon, which will be known as the reticulospinal tract. Then what is the function of this lateral as well as the medial reticulospinal tract? This lateral reticulospinal tract, it is arising from which part? It is arising from the medulla oblongata, isn't it? So the neurons which are present in the central axis in the medulla oblongata, and the fibers which are coming from there it will give origin to the lateral reticulospinal tract from the medulla. And what will be the action on the limb muscle? It is what? It is again flexion. It is excitatory to the flexor group of the muscles of the body. Okay. Just opposite to that, this medial reticulospinal tract. This tract originates from the core of the core of these neurons of the pons. If this centrally placed nucleus it is present in the pons, and from there the fibers are coming out, they will be known as the medial reticulospinal tract. And what this action will be, function of this tract will be, it has got the excitatory effect on the extensor, just opposite to that. It has excitatory effect on the flexor muscles, and here the medial it will be on the excitatory muscle. Okay, it is like that. One tract influences the flexor group, another tract has got influence on the extensor group. So this is like that. Now another tract. Now come to the anterior compartment or the anterior funiculus. So mainly what was the tracts here? It is the descending tracts. So just medial to lateral, have a look here. Just by the side of this anterior median fissure, there is anterior corticospinal tract. Again, which ends on the lower motor neuron or the neuron present in the ventral great horn, and it activates the voluntary muscles for the movement and the skill movement also. Again, it is the uncrossed anterior corticospinal fibers are the remaining uncrossed pyramidal fibers. Now lateral to that, there is the tract here which is known as the vestibulospinal tract. Vestibulospinal tract. Vestibulospinal tract, in the prefix it is vestibular. So there are vestibular nuclei which are present on the pontomedullary junction. We will read in detail all these tracts individually. So for the time being you understand it. Vestibulospinal, from where it is coming up to the spinal cord, from the vestibular nuclei. And these vestibular nuclei, I have just now told that other than the cortex, these fibers are coming down. That is the subcortical. And these fibers, the vestibular nucleus, it is present in the pontomedullary junction. Okay, and it has got the medial and lateral set. The vestibular nuclei has got medial set as well as the. We will read in detail this tract. It has got again the lateral vestibulospinal and the medial vestibulospinal, and both the tracts has influence on the neck muscles also. Neck muscles, to lateral it is the excitatory effect, and the medial has got the inhibitory effect on the extensor group of the muscles. So head and neck muscles, it influences the vestibulospinal tract. Then comes the olivospinal. Olivospinal, again in the prefix it is olivo. Anivo nomenclature, olivo in neuroanatomy, of course it is the inferior olivary nucleus. Olivary nucleus, it is present in the medulla oblongata, again subcortical area. In the medulla, from the inferior olivary nucleus, the tract is coming and ending in the spinal cord, then it is named as the olivospinal tract. That means this tract, it is coming from the medulla. Okay, and it has got the extensor effect. Extensor, it influences the extensor activity, extensor group of the muscles. Then comes the tectospinal. Tectospinal, this one. Sorry, this is the tectospinal, just here. This is the tectospinal. What is tecto here then? Tectospinal means what? Tectum. Which component tectum? Midbrain. Tectum tegmentum. So tectum of the midbrain, there is the superior colliculus, there is the inferior colliculus. When we will read in detail the cut section of the midbrain, pons and the medulla, different levels, then we will see all these things. For timing, you remember that this tectospinal tract, that this descending tract, it is coming from the tectum. Which subcortical area? That is the tectum of the midbrain. Okay. And what will be the function of this tectospinal tract here? Anyone? Tectospinal, it is coming from the tectum, that is the midbrain. And in the midbrain dorsal aspect, there are two muscles, the superior colliculus, inferior colliculus. So this tectospinal tract, it is concerned with the spino-visual reflexes. Okay? What do you mean by spino-visual reflexes? I am taking a class and something sound it is coming or something has been broken down. I will turn my head and see what has happened there. Okay. So this movement of the head towards the visual stimulus there, I am turning my head and neck both to that side. This reflex, it is known as the spino-visual reflex there. And this, so the movement of this, sudden movement of the neck and the head muscles are under the control of this tectospinal tract. That means this tract, it is participating in the spino-visual reflexes. Sensation, it will be carried by the outer part of that ascending fibers, and the motor for the commanding. What to do now? The motor fibers which are involved are under the control of the tectospinal tracts. Clear? Just one point. So other than this lateral corticospinal and the anterior cord, these are the two components of the pyramidal tract. Okay, crossed and the uncrossed part. Rest of all the tracts, all the descending tracts are included in which group? We will discuss in detail later classes. All the descending fibers are known as the extrapyramidal tract. Extrapyramidal tract. So look here, what is the difference of this both the tracts? This pyramidal tract, it is originating from the cortical area, and all the descending tract, the extrapyramidal tract, it is originating from the subcortical areas, but the termination site will be the spinal cord, isn't it? And what is the function collectively? All the descending tracts, extrapyramidal tracts, which I have enumerated here in the descending tracts, whether it is the lateral funiculus or the anterior funiculus. What is the function of this extrapyramidal tracts? For the balancing, it is helping in the extrapyramidal function of the body. It is related with the other than the voluntary and the cerebellar function, cortical and the cerebellar function, for the maintenance of the posture, the tone of the muscles. Okay, so all together, just now you have seen that some 5 tracts are influencing the excitatory effect on the flexor group of muscles. Some descending tracts have influencing on the extensor group of the muscles. So there should be a balance between the flexor group and the extensor group of the these tract. So that's why altogether it is enumerated in the list of the extrapyramidal tracts, and they all work together for the balancing of the posture and the tone of the muscles for the doing the any movement. Okay, so it is like that. So it is the function. We will discuss these descending tracts, the pyramidal as well as the extrapyramidal tracts in detail in the later class. Now come to the, so these was all about the descending tracts. Now come to the ascending tracts. Ascending tracts we have discussed here in the dorsal column or the fasciculus gracilis and the fasciculus cuneatus. Okay, so fasciculus gracilis and the fasciculus cuneatus, they were taking the sensory impulse that we have seen. So the fasciculus gracilis, what will be the pattern of the fibers? The axons which are coming from below upwards. Okay, from what will be the pattern? Whether they will crossing each other, zigzag pattern? No, there is a, in the fibers which are ascending or descending, even in these two columns, there are very disciplined way. They are ascend or descend in a very disciplined way, and that disciplinary action, it is known as the somatotopic arrangement. That's very specific point. It has known as the somatotopic arrangement. Okay, so this is the somatotopic arrangement. What do you mean by somatotopic arrangement? Look here. There is the fasciculus gracilis and laterally there is the fasciculus cuneatus. We have just now studied that this fasciculus gracilis carries this sensation which we have enumerated from the lower limb and the lower half of the body. So the fibers in this fasciculus which will be coming from the sacral region will be medial. Okay, then the lumbar, then comes the thoracic, then comes the cervical. That means fasciculus gracilis, it is carrying the sensation upwards from the sacral region, from the lumbar region, and that means below the T6 level it is carrying this sensation, and fasciculus cuneatus, it is conveying the sensation upwards from the thoracic and then the cervical. That means sacral it is medial most and cervical it is the lateral most. There is no overlapping like that. Here will be thoracic, here will be cervical. It is not like that. In a very disciplined pattern, that is the somatotopic arrangement, the fibers ascend upwards like this in the dorsal column. In the two tracts, the fasciculus gracilis and the fasciculus cuneatus. Just like that, I am explaining again this arrangement here. This is the lateral corticospinal tract. That means the descending fibers for the whole body, for all the areas. So here, what will be the pattern of the? Again, there is a somatotropic arrangement. In this corticospinal tract, the lumbar, then sacral, then lumbar, then thoracic, then the cervical. It is like that. That means the sacral here, which was most medially here, it is the lateral here. Okay. In this descending tract, this sacral, then comes the lumbar, then comes the thoracic, and then comes the cervical. That means the fibers for the cervical region, it is on the medial aspect, and the sacral region, it is on the lateral aspect for the leg area, and the cervical region, neck area, it is medial, and the leg area, it is lateral. So why there is importance of knowing all these type of patterns? It is very important. Suppose agar lesion it is here in the tract, if there is a lesion of the tract on the medial side, so what are the fibers? What would be the involvement in the motor function? Which area will be involved for its motor function? If it is occupying this cervical and the thoracic, then the motor function of this area, cervical and the thoracic region, will be lost. Suppose if this is lost here, if there is this lateral side, So the motor fibers of the sacral and the lumbar area will be affected. So there is very importance of this, knowing the pattern, how they ascend and descend in these tracts. Suppose here also we are dealing with the lateral spinothalamic tract. Of course, it is one of the ascending tract. Very important for you all for the long question, because it carries the pain and temperature fibers from the body. Okay. So again the pattern, again here, look here. Once we are dealing with the somatotropic, then you see for this tract also the same. The pattern will be same for the descending, just like the descending, it will also ascend here. From the sacrum, then the lumbar, then the thoracic, then the cervical. That means the fibers, lateral spinothalamic tract, it is concerned with the pain and temperature. It carries what? Pain plus temperature. Okay. So from the lower limbs, the pain and temperature, it is the lateral most fibers in this tract, the lateral spinothalamic, and from the cervical region it will be the medial most. Okay. So this is the pattern. Now come to the ascending tracts. In the lateral column, look here. 1, 2, 3. There are the 3 ascending tracts which are dealing with the cerebellum. That means in the ascending tracts, you mean to say that the sensation should be carried up to the higher center, isn't it? So there should be alertness, consciousness of the sensation there. But if the sensation it is not reaching to the thalamus means the higher center, it is relying in the cerebellum. The name here is dorsal spinocerebellar tract, the lateral spinocerebellar tract. Look here. This is the dorsal spinocerebellar tract. All these ascending tracts are present in the lateral funiculus. Here, dorsally, this is the dorsal spinocerebellar. Just below that, this is the ventral spinocerebellar tract. Just below that, this is the spinoolivary tract. Medial to this ventral spinocerebellar tract, there is the lateral spinothalamic tract. Okay, all these, and medial to that again is the spinotractal tract. So, one by one we will discuss what are the functions of these ascending tracts. Now, first we deal with this spinocerebellar tracts. That means sensation. Now, which type of sensation? Which type of sensation are carried to the cerebellum? In this tract, these ascending tracts, in the dorsal column, we have discussed the proprioceptive impulses, that is the consciousness, conscious proprioceptive. Yes, very good. The unconscious, a very important point here, the unconscious proprioceptive impulses will be carried by this dorsal spinocerebellar tract, the ventral spinocerebellar tract, as well as the spinoolivary tract. Okay, spinoolivary tract has the same function, as well as some touch pressure from the exteroceptive sensation also. Other than the unconscious proprioceptive impulses, these tracts also carries some what? The touch, lip touch, and the pressure sense also from the exteroceptive impulses. So, what is do? Now, one by one, dorsal spinocerebellar tract. What does it mean? That means this dorsal spinocerebellar tract we have discussed in the previous, you remember that in the Greek matter, there are the Clark column nucleus, isn't it? In the Clark column nucleus was present here in the lamina 7 at the base of the gray horn, dorsal gray horn, isn't it? That was the Clark column nucleus or the nucleus thoracis, isn't it? So, this dorsal spinocerebellar tract, these type of unconscious proprioceptive impulses which are coming from the muscles, the tendons, the ligament, the touch, pressure, all these type of sensation are carried via this dorsal root ganglia, the central process ending here. The central process ending here in this dorsal Clark column cells, and this Clark column cell has got a very specific limitation. It is not present the whole length. We have discussed this thing. It is present here C8 to L2 only. Okay, so the Clark column, and from the Clark column it passes the ipsilateral side. It passes the ipsilateral side, and where it goes up to the medulla oblongata, and the medulla oblongata via inferior cerebellar peduncle it goes to the cerebellum, cornice of the cerebellum. So it is carrying this whole sensation of the same side of the body, because it is related to the axons emerging from the Clark column cell. It is passing to the same side and then ascends upwards. Isn't it a very important point? The neurons, the second order neurons which are involved here, it is the Clark column neuron. Okay, this is the dorsal spinocerebellar tract. Now the ventral spinocerebellar tract, what are the function? The same function, the same sensation it is carrying, but this ventral spinocerebellar tract, it is carrying the same sensation below L2 level. That means L3 to coccygeal 1. Same type of unconscious proprioceptive impulses are carried to the, but the Clark column nucleus is not. It is belonging to the 5th to the 7th lamina neurons, and the axons which emerges from these neurons, what it will do, it will pass to the opposite side and then it will ascend upward. The beauty of this ventral spinocerebellar tract, it is the crossed fibers, and it will not ascend to the medulla just like the dorsal spinocerebellar. It will ascend up to the midbrain. That means midbrain, and then again it will cross again to the same side from where it is coming by the posterior aspect. So this is the dorsal spinocerebellar and the ventral spinocerebellar tract, and the spino-olivary tract from the spinal cord up to the olivary nucleus. Again olivary nucleus we have discussed. It is where it is present. It is present in the medulla oblongata. That's why. And from inferior olivary nucleus, it will go to the cerebellum. Okay. Now this is the lateral spinothalamic tract, a very, very important tract for you all. Modalities of sensation, this tract has a specific function. The pain and the temperature fibers of the body will ascend upwards in this lateral spinothalamic tract only, and the pattern of this axons ascending upwards will be like that: sacral, lumbar, thoracic and cervical. The somatotropic arrangement of these fibers ascending upwards. So it will carry the pain and the temperature sensation. Now just counterpart, there it is in the anterior compartment, there is the only one ascending tract. That is because I have said that in the anterior funiculus it is mainly motor. Numerous of the descending tracts, so many descending motor tracts are there, but when you will think about the ascending tract, there is only one. That is the anterior ventral spinothalamic tract. This is not the pain and temperature tract which is divided. Don't get confused. It is the lateral and counterpart, it is medial or the anterior. It is carrying some another modalities of sensation. And what is that? Which modalities of sensation is left now? Which we have touched. Yes. Which touch? Crude. Yes, very good. The crude touch. The crude touch, pressure, all these sensations, these will be carried by the anterior ventral spinothalamic tract. Okay, so these tracts, in this class we have discussed, we are getting familiar with the nomenclature of these tracts along with their functions, from what is the site of origin of those tracts, what is the termination site, and in which function these tracts are involved, isn't it? So in the next class we will discuss one by one the ascending tracts as well as the descending tracts in detail. Some important. So in this one most important tract which we have to discuss before proceeding to the next classes, that is the dorsolateral tract of the Lissau. Look here, dorsolateral tract of the Lissau. Dorsolateral tract of Lissauer, it is nothing. Look here. when any sensation it is coming and relaying here is that it is mainly involved in the pain and the temperature pathway. So any pain and temperature sensation which is going inside to relay in the dorsal brain von neurons there before synapsing here. The central process of these fibers which are carrying the pain and temperature pathway. So it will divide, it will ascend upwards. It will ascend upwards for 1 or 2 segments above. Okay, these above, and it will also descend also for 1 or 2 segments below. So this tract of Lissauer, it is formed by the ascending and the descending tracts of the fibers which are carrying the pain and temperature sensation before it is relayed in the neurons, specific neurons of the dorsal gray cord. So when it will ascend the ascending tract, then it will relay here and the substantia gelatinosa. That is then here from the here the story of the second order neuron will start. This ascending and descending tract, it is only circling surrounding the central process of the dorsal ganglia, the central process of the fibers of the dorsal root ganglia, and this tract of Lissauer, it is very important in the pain modulation. We will discuss in the pain and temperature pathway for the time being. So now in the next class we will discuss all the ascending tracts in detail. Okay. Thank you.